I'll start with you, Sushant. How do you see it? We don't know what happened. We don't know what changed Trump's mind. We don't know if we should trust Trump even now. How do you see it?
Trust is a very overrated virtue. But I think what we've got is we've got a deal. We've got a deal which is a pretty good one. Is it a perfect deal? No, there is no such thing as a perfect deal. But I think we've got a fairly good deal. The tariffs, at least in the countries which we compete with, in the product lines we are competitive in, uh, we are at, even if it's a 1% advantage, we are at an advantage. There is a lot of heart burning out here that the Americans, we will be charging 0% tariff to the Americans, they'll be charging us 18%. The thing is that everybody that Trump is entering into a deal with is charging 0% tariff on American goods. So there is nothing unusual as far as that is concerned. If we are also charging 0%, it's a level playing field. I think what we have managed to do is, and this is, again, this is partly information and partly speculation. Look, Barkha, this trade deal was being negotiated for years now, over the last 1 year, quite intensively. At one point of time, the trade deal had been put before Donald Trump and he had rejected it. Then they went back to the table and they renegotiated it. I think around November or thereabouts, which is the time frame, I think Piyush Goyal used to tell us that by then we'll have the deal done. The negotiators had sealed the deal. They had worked out everything. And it's not just about, just the headlines which Trump has put in his Truth Social post. There's a lot more to it. It's a lot more complicated and expansive a deal than what he has signed with some of the other countries. There are certain sectors which have got, which have got some protection. There have been certain sectors that have been exempted, and there are certain sectors which will be subjected to tariffs. So it's a pretty complex kind of a deal. So I think under the circumstances, we have got a pretty good deal. Whether this will last or not, look, that is anybody's guess. Trump can be pretty capricious. But, for example, there's a lot of heartburn that $500 billion we'll buy from them. Yeah, look, we were already buying goods and commodities worth $45-50 billion anyways per year, right? Over a period of time, you are not going to suddenly ramp up your purchases from the Americans in 1 year or in 6 months. Over a period of time, it will go up to, say, $100, maybe in 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I don't know. But what does $100 billion a year mean? For example, you're not going to buy $500 billion from them in 1 year, right? You will buy this over a period of time. What does it mean? Even if you just ramp up your energy purchases from the US, you can account for virtually half of this amount. And there will be a whole other stuff that you can buy from the US without damaging either your own industry or your farming community. I think those protections have been maintained from whatever I have managed to learn.
And are you concerned about the claim that Trump has made about Russian oil, Sushant?
Look, okay. Allow me half a minute on Russian oil.
Sure.
Please tell me, how much Russian oil were we buying before February 2022? Second, why did we start buying Russian oil? We were not buying Russian oil because we wanted to thumb our nose at the US. We bought Russian oil because we were getting a damn bloody good deal. So we started buying Russian oil and processing Russian oil, right? And at that point of time, we did the world a favor because we stabilized international oil markets. Okay? Nobody should actually hold it against us. Trump used the Russian oil tariffs against us, not so much because it will help end the war in Ukraine, but because if the war in Ukraine was his thing, then he should have sanctioned the Europeans and the Chinese. But that he didn't do, so he did it to us. My suspicion is that he did it to us to pry open and pressure the Indians to open up a lot more than what the Modi government was ready to do. And I think on certain issues, the Modi government dug its heels in. Rightly or wrongly, I'm not getting into that. But they dug in their heels because they wanted to protect certain vulnerable sections of the Indian economic ecosphere. So, on the Russian oil, look, as of now, the price at which Russian oil is available does not really give us any major advantage buying Russian oil. we could just as well switch the supplies from Russia to some other country and buy that oil. On the Venezuelan oil, I don't know how much Venezuela can supply us right now, given that their oil production capabilities have been severely pared down because of 30 years of mindless socialism and almost communist style regime out there. So maybe over a period of time, when the Venezuelans ramp up their production, we were buying Venezuelan oil earlier. We could go back
Okay.
and start Venezuelan oil. And if the
So,
Russia-Ukraine war ends, maybe the Russian oil will continue to flow because those sanctions will not be there on Russia anymore. So
okay.
I think
Okay.
let's see how this thing rolls, rather than the kind of knee-jerk reaction that many people have given.
Fair. Okay, we have this granular data emerging on the response of people. Rural India actually even more welcoming of this trade deal than urban India. A certain partisanship, but not on all issues. Sushant, let's bring you in. To Prasad's point that we are only looking at an announcement right now. We don't know the fine print. How do you respond?
No, that's a statement of fact, what Prasad has said, that what we have as of now is an announcement. We don't have, for a businessman, look, I am just an analyst, right? He is the
Yeah.
guy whose money is involved. Okay. So he will look at the fine print. He will look at what exactly are the tariff lines, what exactly, when they are going to be coming into force. He will be looking for that kind of information, which is clearly not there. All I can say is that, as far as I know, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I was given the wrong information. This is a pretty comprehensive deal that was negotiated with the Americans. This has now received Donald Trump's nod. I don't know if there were any last minute tweaks in it, but it's a written, negotiated document on which they have given the nod. Whether this applies to the Supreme Court, I haven't followed that. The Supreme Court case in the US, I'm not aware of that. Whether this will come into operation through an executive order, I don't know about the American system, how that works. But just as far as the terms in the deal is concerned, it's a pretty comprehensive one from whatever I have learned. Second, what we do know is that yes, there will be some differentiated tariffs, but I think on the average it's going to be about 18%. So many of the sectors which were being taxed at 50% or thereabouts, their tariffs will come down to 18. And this includes very important sectors for us: the textile sector for one, auto ancillaries for another, some of the engineering goods sectors, then gems and jewelry. These are sectors where large numbers of people were employed, and
Yeah.
their jobs were in jeopardy. Those businesses were in jeopardy. So this trade deal certainly gives them a lot of relief. Third, on Prasad's point, where I think disagree with him, is that yes, his product goes into the US 18% more expensive. But frankly, that is, for the last 70 years in India, we've been paying those obnoxious tariffs which Tavleen was speaking about earlier. So if the Americans are now going to start paying, 18%, 20%, whatever obnoxious rate he has announced, that's their problem. That's not my problem. So I think Yashwant makes a very valid point on that. But I think what is important for me, and this is again where I agree with Tavleen, the way we negotiated this was that we had certain red lines. We haven't, from whatever I have learned, we haven't really compromised on that. Yes, some parts of the agricultural sector we have opened up, which some of it is already open. Some more would have been opened up, but there is a
Yeah.
reason for that. For example, how much do we consume corn? But if we were to buy American corn and convert that into ethanol, and in any
Yeah.
case, we are now going to blend our petroleum with 20% ethanol. So yeah, you can do that. Soya bean, maybe it's going to be used for cattle feed, maybe it'll be used for something else. But there's a limit to how much we will buy, because there is a certain market limit to what will be consumed out here. We just can't keep buying that stuff which the Americans want to sell. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think it is very important that while we were digging in our heels, we neither threw a hissy fit like some of the others were trying to do, or what was expected by the Indian street, that muh tod jawab do, aankhon mein aankhein dal ke baat karo. This North Indian kind of shit which happens all the time. कि उसको दिखा दिया, आ दिया उसको, मैंने उसको बोल दिया फिर क्या हुआ? Then what happened? उसके बाद तुम फाइनेंस, so this nonsensical
Yeah,
bravado in
yeah,
very critical negotiation, we didn't indulge in any of that. But I think we also did a very important thing, which was to keep the door open to negotiations. And that is what
yeah,
good diplomacy is all about. That is what good negotiating is all about. You don't close the door and
yeah.
get engaged with other partners to convey to that fellow that, look, if you don't want to do the deal, yes, it'll create problems for us. Yes, the US is probably the single most important market for us, for everybody in the world. But, we will look for other partners. We will try and adjust. And once that adjustment happens, then, boss, you are going to be out in the cold. So I think there was a certain amount of strategic signaling as well. Uh,
Yeah.
New trade deal being one of those. So I think on the whole, we played it well. And at least from the face of it, it looks like a win-win for both the US and India.
So, so look, so look, we're waiting for more details. The Commerce Minister is speaking. Right now, he's talking about Rahul Gandhi and the opposition basically disrupting Parliament and explaining why he speak.
Rekha, why
Yeah.
is he wasting his time on Rahul Gandhi? But it's like
अब ये
talking
तो
about Bollywood, yeah. Kamal Khan's
it's
take on
like
Bollywood. Get
it's like
real.
what? No, no, wait a minute. It's like what? It's like what? I missed that. It's like what?
Kamal Khan's reviews of Bollywood films, it's, Rahul Gandhi talking on it. He should be a serious political leader. As Tavleen was saying, you talk about substantive issues. You
अब
hurl these wild
he is
allegation, Epstein files. यार या तो तूने पढ़ा नहीं कि Epstein file में लिखा गया था. People are targeting somebody like Hardeep Puri. Hardeep Puri, look, Epstein was the go-to guy for getting doors open. People who went to him did not know whether he's
yeah.
a pedophile or not. They did not know of his sexual deviancy. People went to
Now
him because he
Epstein
was a marriage
Epstein files. Let's have a separate show on
no,
Epstein
but
files. I want to stay on point.
about Epstein files when you have a trade deal and you have a budget and you have the president's speech to talk about. There are enough issues on that in which he can pick up cudgels on behalf of the opposition. But
Okay,
he
let
will
me.
indulge in this kind of behavior. This is pretty juvenile, if you ask me.
Sushant, it's over to you. What would be the most important thing in the fine print that you'd be looking for when the details of this agreement are available?
Nothing really. I think, as far as I know, everything has been settled. Barkha, there
Okay.
will be certain things on which people will carp. There'll be other things on which they'll celebrate. It'll be somewhat of a mixed bag at the end of the day. There will be some people who'll crib about it. There will be some people who perpetually crib about everything. But three very quick points. Look,
Yeah.
one, I think we should take the win, but
Yeah.
without trying to do some kind of a victory lap. Let's not do the
Mhm.
grandstanding. Take the win. Be happy with it. Second,
Yeah.
on what Prasad was saying about the toughest negotiator in the world. I remember an old quote of Nani Palkiwala who used to say that an Indian banya can buy from a Scotsman and sell to a Jew and still make a profit. So if you have a banya as your commerce minister, maybe it's not such a bad deal. And finally, on this US thing, are we leaning too close to the Americans? Look,
Yeah.
I think it was a conscious decision taken by the government. It was a strategic decision that there is a lot more we stand to gain from a closer relationship with the West. There is a lot of things which tie us to the West, and we can benefit from that. And I was hearing an economist, I think she's of Vietnamese origin, but probably settled in
Yeah.
the US. Um, and she said something very interesting. She said that, look, India she agreed that India has this major compact with the Western economies. The closer it gets to the Western economies, the greater its competitiveness becomes when it deals with Eastern economies. So I think there is something to be said for that. And like I said, we've got the win. Take it, celebrate it, but don't do a victory lap unnecessarily, lest you rile up some people unnecessarily.